Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here. Painfully put off this video about the San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals for next week. Been putting this off for a while. I made a video earlier in the week talking about Jim Harbaugh basically being pushed out of the 49er head coaching job, and about basically how I don't think there's anybody out there who's going to be able to fill Harbaugh's shoes. I think it's all over. I think if you remember back to the off season, basically the talk was Harbaugh was trying to talk the team into trading him to Cleveland, being able to get something back. He would be able to go to Cleveland, be able to take a job that would be open, and get out of the 49er front office, which was just basically up in shambles all season long. If you can remember, the Niners started out kind of weak. I believe they were 1-2. A few weeks after that, Deion Sanders broke a story basically saying that the players were fed up with Jim Harbaugh. They weren't going along with the way that he was coaching them. They didn't feel like he was reaching the players anymore. It was almost like there was a mutiny going on in San Francisco. Besides for Boone and Kaepernick getting in that fight last week on the sidelines, bitching back and forth at each other, I can't really think of anything on the sidelines. It wasn't like Singletary and Davis having their little showdown on the sideline where basically Singletary sent Vernon Davis back to the locker room and told him he was going to be sitting out the rest of the game and didn't even want him on the sideline with the team. There wasn't anything like that, but you can definitely tell that where there's smoke, there's fire, and Michigan is going to be flying in this week to meet with Jim Harbaugh. Personally, what I think Harbaugh is doing is I believe that Harbaugh is having Michigan there. As soon as this game is over, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow in the fourth quarter, maybe even at halftime, Harbaugh is going to sign that Michigan deal. I think there's a little part of Harbaugh that doesn't want the 49ers to get the upper hand by firing him. I think that he's going to be the one to admit that he's leaving, that he's going to be going back home. He wants to coach his alma mater. There's a lot of money on the table. That's not a factor. I think that it's just sort of, in order to get that Oakland job, Oakland said that they would basically get up to the table and match anything that, Michigan put on the table. I just think that in order to get that job, he has to be fired by San Francisco, and I don't think Harbaugh, has the pride inside of him to have the 49ers get the last laugh. Well, then again, he might take that Oakland job and come back and beat us, once every 3 years or however long it is we play, since we don't get to play in the preseason anymore, since San Francisco and Oakland fans can't get along. But we're going into this game. I think as a San Francisco 49er fan, you have to have some sort of a pride. Hope that the 49ers are going to be able to pull out a victory against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be going to the playoffs, but they are going into the playoffs without their number 1 or their number 2 quarterback. Drew Stanton injured before last week. Last week it was Ryan Lindy who got the start for Arizona going up against Seattle. Seattle made him look pretty bad. There were some people out there who basically thought that maybe Logan Thomas was going to be getting the start, since basically there's a lot of question marks about if Drew Stanton's going to be able to come back and play in the playoffs for the Cardinals, and they need to get some sort of momentum going into it. They don't want to finish over the strong season. Right now they're sitting at 11-4. No matter what happens, they have already lost the tiebreaker to the Seahawks. They can hope for a Seattle loss and for them to get a win, but I think that the writing's on the wall that the Seahawks are going to win the West, and they're going to have a come-from-behind battle. Arizona was sitting up top for a long time. A lot of people last year made up the argument that they should have been in there, but they deserve it this year. When the Niners, when Arizona came to town with Drew Stanton as the quarterback, basically Carson Palmer getting hurt early in the season, I think there was a lot of people like me who thought this was going to be a slam dunk game. Cardinals came out and they beat us, and they wouldn't be surprised if that happens again tomorrow. Lots of things going on with the game. Of course, talk about Harbaugh having his last game. Frank Gore, Justin Smith, Michael Crabtree, all people that could be leaving us in the offseason. And the name that's getting real hot this year is, the name that's getting real hot this week is Michael Ipatai. Of course, he would be our Pro Bowler. It's him and Joe Stanley this year. Plays up there on the line, one of the biggest guys that's been protecting for Frank Gore. There's lots of talk about Gore getting to 1,000 yards this year. Honestly, in my mind, as a running back with a 17-week season, getting 16 games to get to 1,000 yards, honestly, isn't the biggest achievement, honestly, in my mind. I think that if you run for 100 yards every game and you get to 1,600 yards, that should be the new thing. But I remember as I was a kid, they used to give everybody special cards for over 1,000 yards that would go into the NFL sets, and they would always be fun to hold on to. But now as I'm older, 1,000 yards doesn't really seem like that much of an accomplishment that you really hold on to, something like that. But us losing a key member of our line, which was very, very soft this year, definitely one of the best guys holding that line together, it sucks. I mean, he was one of the guys that I thought was in the family to stay. I knew that he was going to be a free agent, but I thought maybe that, he was already sort of sealed up what was going to happen. This week might be one of the last chance. Anquan Boldin, he's got a contract for next year, but I think, he won Super Bowls, and he's signed to be with us. This season was pretty much in shambles all year long. Boldin's going to be going up against Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to be going up against Larry Fitzgerald, his former teammate. They battled back and forth. It was basically Fitzgerald's contract that pushed Boldin out of Arizona, sending him to Baltimore. Basically, they didn't have enough money to keep both of the guys, and Boldin wanted to be number one. He couldn't be number one, so he went somewhere else. But definitely makes it very good that we signed Stevie Johnson. Actually, we traded for him, but brought him into the fold. He didn't get the ball a lot this year early on in the season. Lots of stories in preseason basically being about him and Kaepernick weren't working well as a team. But they got on the same page. You can see definitely that Stevie Johnson's one of our top wide receivers out there, and I'm glad that he's with us. But it's going to be a tough game to watch. Definitely as a Niner fan, just like last week when we lost, it didn't help us to win anything. So a loss doesn't matter. At least we sort of looked good for a little bit. It sucks to be that team who lost that big lead to the Chargers. But let's just see if we can hang tight with the Cardinals. It's not life or death if we win this game. So just sit back. I remember last week of the season was against the Cardinals, and that game didn't matter either. Basically, if the Rams would have beat the Seahawks in that last game, which was earlier in the day, maybe then we could have played and had home field advantage. Maybe the Cardinals could have sneaked into the playoffs. But basically, the Rams weren't able to help either of us out. So we just played a dead game, and that game seemed like it went on forever. And the Niners won, but the game was boring. This game might be a little bit boring itself, but I hope we win. If we don't win, no big deal. Scrape us together, see when the playoffs happen, and then start talking about the offseason and the draft. Let's go Niners. Get this done. Actually, let's get it over with.